Hello, everyone, and welcome to the masterclass on technical interview rounds and their significance in modern recruitment processes. In today's rapidly evolving job markets, companies are increasingly relying on rigorous technical interview rounds to identify top talent. In this masterclass, we'll delve into the intricacies of technical interviews, exploring their role in assessing candidates' problem solving skills, technical proficiency, and ability to thrive in dynamic environments. We will uncover key strategies and best practices to excel in these high stake assessments, equipping you with tools and confidence needed to outshine the competition. We'll also discuss the broader implications of technical interviews beyond individual career advancement, from shaping company cultures to driving innovation. These play a pivotal role in shaping the trajectory of organizations and industries at large. By mastering technical interviews, you'll not only unlock exciting opportunities for yourself, but also contribute to the growth and success of companies that you join. But before we go there, I'd like to take a couple of minutes to talk about Unstop and the Unstop Pro, which is a one of a kind offering that we have. Unstop is a talent engagement and hiring platform with more than 8 million users from 42,000 colleges and companies. And Unstop Pro, the finishing school, is the finishing school for getting a job, winning a competition, learning the right thing, getting the best value, choosing the right company, and the right mentor for the right career path. With the Unstop Pro, you get access to more than 1,000 hours of content across 65 plus courses in domains like aptitude, technical skills, coding, interview preparation for a variety of companies. And our learners have validated the quality of our content with a rating of 4.515. We also have projects from companies like Amex, Netflix, and Zomato, to name a few. We also offer a handsome 15% discount on the one on one mentorship sessions from industry experts from top brands. Just imagine being able to talk to mentors from your favorite brands like Google, Amazon, Flipkart, HUL, McKinsey, to name a few, who have spent more than 2,500 hours connecting with top talent like you. There are also interview preparation courses for more than 100 companies on our platform. And we also have masterclasses by industry experts like this one. Having said that, I'd like to introduce you to the expert who would be taking the masterclass today. We have with us Amit Rajit Bose. He is an experienced software engineer working for Flipkart who has taken over 50 plus interviews for Flipkart and over 100 plus technical interviews in total. He also brings the experience of interviewing for multiple top tech product companies and cracking offers from some of them. He's also an avid competitive programmer and ACM ICPC regionalist, and he has been in the top authors in Medium in the machine learning category. He loves to contribute to the aspiring engineers community via mentorship and has mentored over 200 candidates preparing for software engineering interviews. Over to you, Amit Rajiz. Please take it over from here.
Thank you so much, Avinash. Thank you so much for such a warm welcome. Hello, everyone out there who are joining this session. Thank you so much for spending your time and joining the session. Uh, be rest assured that your next 50 to 60 minutes will be very helpful in your entire career. You'll be learning a lot about how to crack technical interviews with much more confidence and much more potential that you can even crack better and better interviews. So we'll be going through the entire slides one by one, and we'll be discussing a lot of things in details. Uh, so let me go to the slides. So thanks for the introduction. A little bit more about me, apart from what Avinash mentioned. Currently, I work at Flipkart, and previously I have worked at Rakuten, so I have been a software engineer for about 4 years now. Uh, Apart from that, in my university days, I completed 4 internships, and the reason why internships are important and how they help you crack interviews down the line, I'll also focus on that. Apart from that, I love to take interviews, love to mentor people. I actively interview for my current company also presently. So going to the next part, I'll be discussing that what are some of the internships that I did. Not going in very deep, but I'll be telling you how internships help you a lot and why they're important for your overall getting that confidence to crack technical interviews. So I did four major internships. One was for a small startup. Two of them were for a startup. One was for a ISC kind of academic organization, and one was for another big tech company. During my internships, I learned that like first of all, it's the experience that you build from networking with a lot of people pays off in the long term. So you'll meet a lot of people rather than sitting in your whenever you're getting the holidays in the college, in the university, rather than sitting at home. It's better if you try to do an internship, meet a lot of folks who are actually working in the industry. You'll make a lot of network. You'll increase your experience, your skills. You'll make your profile much more stronger. And number three, you'll gain a lot of industry experience, which will give you a lot of confidence. So with that set, I'll go to the slides and we'll learn how to crack technical interviews much more confidently and get better at it. So at a brief, what will you learn today? You'll learn essentially why interview, and what are the different interview rounds that we can expect. um, we'll be learning about, we see a lot of people getting interview calls and some of them not even landing one interview call. We'll be understanding why that happens and how we should not be in that zone and we should get more and more interview calls, how to optimize on that. uh, in the interviews, once you're in the interview, what things can you face, what are the situations you need to be prepared for, and then I'll be ending it with some preparation tips and mantras. And yeah, that's some 2 cents from my side. So after that, we'll go to the question and the answers. So let's start without any further delay, right? So when I was in my college days, in my university, I used to think that, hey, I have done these many internships. I have done, I have built great projects, and I have done some work in the industry also as an intern in different companies, or building projects here and there. So why is my portfolio not enough? Why can't someone go and hire me directly from that? Think about it like this. Let's say, let's look at it like, let's say you are going to buy a bike for yourself or a vehicle for yourself, right? A car. So you might have done a lot of research about that, right? That, hey, this is a V4 engine, or this has great exhaust note, all of that, great mileage, all of that. These are all theoretical definitions, right? You will definitely not be interested to buy the vehicle or buy the expensive investment on your vehicle, car or bike, without taking a test drive. So interviews are also like that. So think about it like the company hiring you, the company investing in you, and you actually have to prove yourself on the table, that what are you bringing on the table, right? What are you bringing to the table in terms of skills, in terms of experience, in terms of projects that you have done. What can you contribute to the team that will be joining, right? Excuse me. So essentially, your recruiter also has gone through your profile, has gone through the work you have done before this, but on a specific day, how you perform and how you actually demonstrate your skills, your experience, that matters in a way that shows that, okay, this guy might be great at all these things, but he should also be able to, when I am talking to this guy, when I am actually asking questions, evaluating this guy, or whoever the candidate is, this person should be responsive enough to answer those questions very correctly. And that is the framework which interview actually brings us to us. And every company has a different set of different set of rounds, different set of frameworks. So for example, if you look at one company, the type of rounds, or the number of rounds, or the interviews that they'll take will be very different from another company. And you'll see this. For example, a startup will not hire in the same way as an MNC would do, or a product company will not hire in the same way that someone else will do, right? Every company has their own cultural, company, according to the company culture, whatever are the set of interview rounds. That is what comprises of this framework which we come up with as interview. So going to the next part, I think a lot of you have seen that, on LinkedIn and on the social media platforms, there are people who are posting about multiple offer letters, multiple um, offers from multiple companies. So why does this happen that one person lands three or four or five or more than 10 interview job offers, whereas someone is not even getting an interview call from a recruiter or an HR, right? uh, that is what we'll be looking into now, and how we can reduce that. So the first thing that you need to look for when you're coming up in this preparation zone of, while you are not yet there, you're preparing for the job, for the interviews, or in your college. I think a lot of you might be in your college right now in third year and fourth year. That is the ideal time when you need to look into all these four verticals that I have given shown in this slide. So the first thing is the resume. I think a lot of you know resume as like a CV. Also, it's the same thing. There are minor technical differences, but we'll not go into that. Think of the resume as your identity throughout the interview process, throughout the application process. So it's essentially the one-page document that you need to be most careful about. You need to be very confident, and you need to know everything that's written on that one piece of paper. And one more thing, this should be one piece of paper. This should not be 2 pages or 3 pages. I'll come to that why and how it should be done. We'll go to that in the next few minutes. Going to the next vertical, it's the LinkedIn profile. So I think a lot of you already are on LinkedIn. If you are not, make sure you go to LinkedIn after this session and build your, create sign up on the platform. So in the last few years, I think last decade itself, and a little bit beyond that, LinkedIn has become a major tool for hiring and for professional networking. Whenever you come across someone in the professional network, you always go up and check their LinkedIn profile to see, hey, is this person on LinkedIn or not? And if it's there, let me connect to this person, right? So LinkedIn as a platform can really make your career or make or break your career, right? Why I'm saying this is because if you have a really good profile setup, really good, if you set up your profile on LinkedIn very well, it has a huge potential for you to land a lot of good offers, good connections, and great jobs at the end of the day. I'll focus more on that going forward. Next is the GitHub and blog. So in 2024, I mean, in this decade, internet is the biggest power, right? We are talking via internet itself right now. So think about it like that. If right now you're working on something, on a great project from the corner of your house, and you want the world to know about that, so you want the exposure, you want it to be reachable to other people, so that if it's something really critical, something really interesting you're working on, other people should also be able to learn about that or know about that or be able to contribute to that. So I think there are platforms like GitHub, GitLab, where you can host your code, host your project. So let's say if you build a small project and then you think it's a very interesting project, you want to share it with someone, you want to share it with anyone who's you want to make it live, so you would like to host it on GitHub. It would give you an access to freely host your projects, your coding projects, or your software technical projects online without paying a single penny, and it will create a portfolio for yourself. A lot of people also write blogs. So even like technical blogs or blogs, if you do that, make sure to showcase that, make sure to make it public. And if you're doing something on the technical line, make it public, make it more and more visible. I'll tell you a very small story that happened with me. So it was, I think, sometime 1 or 2 years back. I wrote a small coding related, data structures, algorithms related post on Medium, and that somehow just hit off. Like it had close to 1,000 claps. Like it's like the likes equivalent in Medium, like 1,000 likes in less than a week or something. And that's a great ramp up for Medium, because Medium takes some time to ramp up, since it's a completely technical kind of blog. So in a few days, some co-founder reached out to me and was very interested reading the blog and wanted me to kind of collaborate on their. Uh, she was writing some technical book, so wanted me to collaborate on that, and that led me to another opportunity, which was to be be a founding engineer for a small startup also. So that's what I'm telling. Like social media and online portfolio in today's world has a huge potential, huge power to literally make a great network for you. And you can literally go out to the audience and you can be there in the public. So that's a great way. um, so I'll go to the fourth vertical again, networking. I think all of these, like even LinkedIn, GitHub, they're all essentially one aspect of them is to network with people, but the old fashioned networking never goes out of style. So make sure, like I think if you're in your college right now, you'll see a lot of hackathons, you'll see a lot of community meetups that happen, especially like I think Google hosts these developer festivals, dev fests and all of that. Make sure to attend them. The benefit of attending them is that you might not be learning a lot from that session specifically, but you can get to network with a lot of folks who are actually working on very critical problems, uh, very important problems, and you can actually introduce yourself to them. You can get to know what they're working on, and you can build your network. This will help you down the line when you are actually let's say you're graduating from the college and you're looking for a job, or let's say you have built something that's on the similar lines of what this person was working on. So I think networking never goes out of fashion. Make sure to go out in social events and network. So we'll go to the next slide. I'll tell you a little bit about how LinkedIn helped me in my case, like in my personal case, where I got most of my interview opportunities or jobs from LinkedIn. So my first internship that I mentioned on the first slide was from a small startup. So the story behind that was that I reached out to the CEO of that startup via simple, LinkedIn text message. And at that time, I was probably in my end of second year or third year, and beginning of third year or end of second year. And I remember like texting this person that, hey, I have interest in your startup, and I have these skills. So is there a possibility that I can intern for you? You have to reach out, right? That's again where the networking is coming. But LinkedIn is so powerful that that single text message helped me to connect with that person, and I got a chance to interview for that company, and which finally ended up in my first internship of my life. And I think that is just one example, and there have been so many instances where I have got recruiters reaching out to me more or less every week, every day, HRs reaching out to me, so many other people, academic professionals reaching out to me to collaborate on certain technical topics. So I think LinkedIn has been a primary source of getting more, views, getting more views in the public. In terms of by views, I mean, getting more attention in terms of what you're working on, right? Getting more interview calls, getting more collaboration calls. As a professional, LinkedIn has to be optimized to that level. So I think that's one of the major inputs from the previous slide and this slide, that LinkedIn has to be your top notch. Make sure your profile is active, all the sections are filled in, you have a picture, you have a good headline, right? All the sections are fully added, your projects you have added. It's like an online resume that you are kind of creating, and you need to keep on updating that every month, every year, every 6 months, right? So that's a rough breakdown of how I landed most of my interview calls. I think if you see, like 7 to 80%, I reached out, people reached out via LinkedIn, or I reached out to them via LinkedIn. 15 to 20% was from career portals. Career portals, as in, if you look at, like, for Flipkart, from my company, we have a career portal, right? Every company has a career portal, and you can just go and they'll have their own internal portal where you can submit your resume. So I think a lot of people do overlook this part. They think that it's very useless. Career portals don't really convert. You don't get a interview call from that, but that's not at all true. You do get the only difference is that there is a lot of people applying on career portals, so the conversion might not be that powerful. But if if and only if, let's say in the last slide, as we discussed about resume, if your resume is really strong, career portals can land you great opportunities also. And then apart from that, if you network, if you go to social events, then also you can land some job interviews from there. And apart from that, I got approached by random emails from different recruiters who reached out to me, or I reached out to them by emails. So we'll go to the next slide. We'll discuss what you might be facing. This is the next part of the presentation where we'll be discussing about, let's say you have prepared the things you wanted to prepare, and you want to essentially look for what you'll be facing in an interview and how you need to prepare for that. So when companies hire, they have a hiring process, right? Every company has a different hiring process. And here in this screen I have added like most of the different type of pipelines that you will see. So if you look at the first one, I've given a, like in the first column you'll see I've given company logos. That necessarily does not mean this is the only company who is following this pipeline. This is one of the many companies who are doing this, and the more easier for you to relate also. So if you look at, for example, the first pipeline, the first row, it's an example of Google. So they go ahead and do the resume shortlisting first, right? Okay, let me. Okay, so think about it like that. So you are submitting your resume, and it goes through a set of processes. It goes through a funnel. Now, different companies have different ways of taking it from one stage to another. So the resume shortlisting phase is a standard phase that will always be there for any company. They'll take your resume, they'll see if you are a good fit for the job role for the team, and then they'll call you back, tell you that you are selected for this opportunity. That do you want to participate in the interview? So once you're done with that, certain companies have a take home assignment. So as you can see in this fifth row, I have given an example of one company, and I think there are more companies also who do this. So there's a take home task. So what does this mean? Companies will give you a small assignment that, hey, I want you to come up with this small project, right? I want you to come up with this small task. Then once you are done with that task, submit the code to us or submit the solution to us, and we'll go on to the next round. So you will see this in a lot of interviews, be it you're sitting for a data engineering, machine learning, data science interview, or for a software engineering interview. You'll see this take home assignment kind of stage in a lot of companies, this being one of the examples. After that, you'll often see there's a online screening round. So this round is usually coding round where you need to solve 2 or 3 problems within an hour, or there's a given set of time where you have to solve certain problems, right? And they are usually hosted on platforms like Unstop, where you'll see these online platforms where they'll give you the questions, and there's a set of time, and you have to solve the questions. And there are a set of test cases also. So based on how many test cases you actually correctly solve, your scoring also depends on that. Going to the next round, let's see you have clarify, kind of qualified this round. So you're going to the next round, which is a technical phone interview round. Again, this technical phone interview round is more of an optional round for most of the companies. But if you look at certain companies that I have mentioned here, let's say Google, it's a mandatory round. They do conduct this technical phone interview round with a lot of attention, lot of focus. And so traditionally, if you look at it, what happens is that essentially you'll be part of a Zoom call or something. And once you are part of that technical phone interview round, you'll be going to the next round. I'll be discussing what actually happens in the technical phone interview and why it is called technical phone interview. I'll be going to the next part of the presentation. I'll be discussing that. But as of now, let's consider this as a phone interview round, and then we go to the main meat of the entire pipeline, which is the DSA round. DSA round is like the problem solving round, data structures and algorithms round, right? And there can be multiple DSA rounds. Some company can have 2 rounds, some company can have 3 or 4 rounds based on the seniority level of the job role that they're offering you. There can be n number of DSA rounds. Then certain companies also have machine coding round. Excuse me. So what machine coding round basically does says is that you are given a set of problems and you are expected to come up with a solution in the most functional way possible. I'll dive deep into this in my next slide, but think about it as a more practical, non-algorithmic round, right? And there are companies like Flipkart, Swiggy, Uber, CureFit who are conducting this round regularly, for all the junior levels and also for senior levels. So we'll also be looking into what this round is and what it is about. Then we go to the behavioral side, and if you look at Google, they conduct a Googliness round, right? Similarly, Amazon has something called a leadership principle round or a bar raiser round, and other companies also have bar raiser or hiring manager rounds. So essentially, you are expecting questions like situational questions, behavioral questions, and you have to answer them in the most professional and correct way, in the most best way possible. There's no correct answer for these kind of questions, but you have to understand how you answer, so to increase your chances. And following that is the team fitment, which is like basically once you kind of go through the entire interview process, you are a fit candidate for the job. Some companies interview by teams, they know that they're hiring for this team. Some companies interview by pool, so they'll keep you in a set of selected pool. Whenever there's an opening, they'll reach out to you. So for example, Google does this. Google has something called team matching round. So when what they do basically there is, let's say you have completed the entire Google interview process, and you know that you are in a more in the you have completed the entire thing. So they'll keep you in the funnel for a while, and as and when there will be openings coming in the different teams, they'll reach out to you that, hey, do you want to interview? Do you want to talk to this team and be a part of this team or not? So that's more of a team matching now. So we'll go to the next slide, and we'll be discussing more in details about each of these rounds that I talked about. So the first one, as I said, I'll be discussing this in detail. The technical phone round or phone screening or online screening round that we say. So think about this round as any other data DSA round or problem solving round, except uh, you are not yet part of the actual interview funnel. So I'll tell you how this interview came up, even in the interview funnel thing, and what is the history of such kind of phonetic interview rounds, right? So before COVID, also I think last decade, Google used to conduct on-site interviews. So let's say you are selected for an interview at Google, they would actually ask you, they would invite you to their office for multiple technical rounds. uh, Not just Google, other companies were also there. Google, Amazon, Microsoft, many different companies. They used to invite you to their office. You probably had to fly from one state to another, and these people had to accommodate you. Think about the logistics of that. So there was a lot of logistics and planning involved to bring one candidate for the interview and then conduct the interview, and then let's say the candidate gets rejected. So once the candidate gets rejected, it's a huge monetary loss also for the company in some way, right? That is where, since in the previous time there was not a lot of online interviews as of today, what companies used to do is that they used to conduct a phone screen now. So they would call you and conduct a small half an hour or 45 minutes round over the call, and try to understand what your experience been. Do you really fit the team? And also some problem solving questions. For example, they will ask you smaller problem solving questions which would not require a lot of robust thinking, lot of complicated thinking, but they would be asking you some level of technical questions also. So that's where technical phone interview rounds came up. But nowadays, if you see, the round is still there, but they happen through Zoom calls or such, like online conferencing calls like that. So once you are done with this round, once you have completed this round, think about yourself to be part of the interview funnel. So think about yourself that now you're part of the interview funnel and you cannot be easily eliminated just easily, right? Although every company has their own policy, but now you're in the main section of the interview. Excuse me. So once you come to the main part of the interview, the most common and most important, so this is the round where a lot of folks also get eliminated, is the problem solving data structures round, which in company like in Flipkart we call it PSDS round, problem solving and data structures. In a lot of companies they call it technical on-site, some call it DSA round, right? So essentially you're expected to solve algorithmic problems. Excuse me. So you expected to solve algorithmic problems from data structures, algorithms, and or mathematical problems, and you are expected to come up with the perfect time complexity for a solve for a problem that's given to you. So discuss how you came to the solution, brute force approach, more optimized approach, and finally coming to the best solution, right? Time and space complexity, all of that. I'll discuss how you can prepare them, and OnStop also has courses for that. We'll go to that. uh, but essentially the interviewer will judge you on your completely on your problem solving skills, on your hardcore algorithmic skills, and you can expect that your entire uh, all the 2 3 rounds of PSDS or problem solving, you will need to prepare a lot of unstop host such kind of coding questions, so you need to prepare a lot of coding questions for this round. So that's about the PSDS round and technical on-site round. I'll go to the next round, which is called the machine coding round. So essentially, this is more of a not a very old, interview round. This is more of a new interview round that has recently come up for the last few years again. So what happens is that a lot of us, lot of the candidates do know how to code for a problem, do know how to given a problem. They have done a lot of coding. Let's say in your preparation time, you have done a lot of coding, but once you join the company, you don't know how to write a single line of code, or you given a business problem or a let's say I tell you that, hey, build this thing or build this component. You don't know how to write code for that. You have only been solving algorithmic problems. So to gap that bridge, so to bridge that kind of gap that was there between interviewing and real life work, machine coding round came into the picture. Currently, if I recall, like companies like Flipkart, Swiggy, Uber, Curefit, they are definitely conducting this round, machine coding or LLD. By LLD means low level design round, and there are other companies also who are conducting this round, and this has become a de facto round for junior to mid junior level kind of roles, that you're expected to uh, solve such machine coding problems, right? So going to the next round, we have the HLD round, or the high level design round, system design, as you also might know it. This is more of a senior level specific round. Uh, think of it like you are given a problem, like how would you design Twitter's news feed, or how would you design Facebook's or Meta's messenger application. So these are much bigger problems that you might not be expected to solve in the junior level, but once you're having 3 years of experience or a little bit more than that, you have to be prepared for such kind of such kind of rounds, because you are slowly going into a senior level of any kind of even if you're a machine learning or data science role, they'll be asking you similar questions, because you are slowly going to the senior side of technical interviews. So you'll be expecting questions like of system design, or how would you design a pipeline, machine learning pipeline, something like that. Excuse me. After that, we have the behavioral rounds, and if you look at the famous leadership principle, or the bar raiser round that Amazon is famous for, or what basically they do is they expect you to know the 12 leadership principles, that specifically Amazon has 12 leadership principles by their CEO, and they want you to know those leadership principles before you join the company, right? So think of it. So I've given the example of Amazon, but every company expects you to know their company culture, their company vision, before you join the company, or before you while you interview also, right? So simple rule of thumb here would be, if you're interviewing for a company and you're in the final few rounds, behavioral round and HR or hiring manager round, make sure to do a simple research on the company, what have been their achievements for the last 2 3 years, what are their visions. You can just go to Wikipedia and search for that, right? Things like that, very basic things, or just go to their official website and search for that. Just learn about the values of a company before you interview for these kind of rounds, right? Because they'll expect you to align with these kind of values. Similarly, the googliness round is also very similar. uh, what happens for Google is that, let's say you have given 4 or 5 interviews throughout your interview process, and then they'll have a interview round called googliness round. So what they essentially assess in this round is that what is your googliness factor? Do you really have a googliness factor in you? So according to them, even if you're great at technical problem solving or technical, knowledge, you have to be googly enough to be able to be hired in our company. So it's again very similar to leadership principle round, nothing very different, but it's an internal analysis they do based on certain questions they ask you, very open-ended questions, like let's say, how would you handle a difficult situation at work, or how would you handle um, you know a crisis at work, things like that. They'll put you in certain situations, or they'll put you in certain questions and thereby situations where you have to think of ways that if it actually happened to you, or what would you do, how would you react if this happens to you. More of open-ended situational questions, uh, that you can look up what is called a star method, right? Star method is basically, you can look into, you given a problem, you can think about how you break down your solution into multiple steps. For example, given the situation, you'll think of the action, you'll think of a result, you'll think of the task that you have, and you have to answer it in that way. So that is how I think you can go through these kind of rounds, like leadership round, googliness round, and hiring manager round. So essentially, the above two are also hiring manager round, but I've kept hiring manager round separately in this slide, so that I can get to talk about this thing that a lot of us, especially, I mean, even I was there a few years back. I thought hiring manager round is very similar to an HR round, right? But it's not true. I myself got rejected in certain hiring manager rounds, and I realized that how it is different from HR rounds. And I learned from them, and I understood how HM rounds, like hiring manager rounds, are different from hiring recruiters round, like like HR rounds. So, for example, in an HR round, you would be basically facing a HR or a recruiter. But for a hiring manager round, you're facing a engineering manager or a director, or someone with a lot of experience in the team that you're being hired for, right? Some senior level folk, or someone who's a manager level folk, or a director level folk. So you can expect questions from anywhere in your resume, like any part of your resume, your experience, your education, or your previous, work, to anything that the team has to work on, right? Any knowledge related question. And also you can expect some situational questions, right? Like, for example, what are your strengths and weaknesses? How do you function at work? What is your ideal work life balance looks like? Think questions like that. They are more open-ended questions, but think about hiring manager round as one step above from the uh, HR round. So it's basically HR plus technical, right? So, and essentially, in most of the companies, hiring manager round has a lot of importance, because let's say you have a great feedback in the previous rounds, but the hiring manager says that you are not a good fit. You might be even, not be considered for the role. So all the above last three pointers that I have shared, like leadership, googliness, and hiring manager round, they are kind of veto rounds. So what veto round means that, let's say you have done a great performance through the previous rounds, but you don't perform well, or there's a there's some issue in your process, in your candidature. So they can easily eliminate your candidature, and they can reject your candidature, right? So make sure you prepare well for the hiring manager round. So I'll go to the next slide. We'll be talking about certain preparation mantras, and how should we prepare, how should we sort of, which areas to look for, which areas to focus more on, and what areas we can, how to spend time on what areas. So we'll be focusing on that now. Excuse me. So before we jump into that, let's look at how you need to prepare, and what sequence you need to follow. So I have very specifically and in a specific order, put these three words in this slide: that first you prepare, then you revise, then you apply. So what I mean by prepare is that prepare your things, whatever prerequisites you need to prepare for. Materialistic things, right? For example, resume. These are documents, these are material that you need to prepare beforehand before you even start applying or revising your stuff. Then you have to come up with projects. Projects are very important, especially in junior level interviews, because you don't have a experience yet, you don't have a past company yet. So you, whatever projects you build in your college, in your university, or during on your own, they are very important to showcasing those projects, as I mentioned before, on GitHub or any blogs. You need to prepare them very well. So this is the part where you need to prepare the resumes and projects. Once you're done with that, go to the revising part, where you'll be brushing up on the fundamental concepts of computer science or data science or whatever you are applying for. Once you're done with that, we'll go to the application section, where you'll be more of starting to apply for jobs, sitting in mock interviews, and actually starting to interview. So the first part in the preparation process, as I already discussed before, is the resume. So the resume is again one of the most important piece of document that you'll need. So Unstop has a course on this, so you can check that. I'll just open this link. So we have a mentorship program where you can get an help on resume building. Apart from that, if you one second. Apart from that, we have a resume building course also. So you can go through this course. uh, you can register for this course, and you can understand how to build resume, what are the areas you need to focus on, how to make ATS compliant resumes, all of that. So I'll discuss a little bit on this slide. uh, Make sure your resume is one pager. So the thumb rule is that if you have less than 8 to 10 years of experience, you should be able to compress your resume, compress your experiences or projects into a single page. That is the thumb rule, because you have to, as soon as we mention this thumb rule, it comes brings us to this third one, which says the 10-second rule. If your resume is very long, let's say 2 or 3 pages, it makes it very difficult for the interviewer or recruiter to go through that. So there's a 10-second rule that recruiters follow. They usually have a bunch of resumes on their desk, on their profile, on their on their system. They'll just open your resume, give it 10 seconds to read that. If you are able to impress through your resume, so think about it, you are not there, you are not saying a word, but your resume is speaking for you. So if your resume speaks very well for you in the first 10 seconds, only then, let's say if I am a recruiter, I would really not care if you have written a lot of things on your resume. I do not even have the time to go through such a big resume. But for the first 10 seconds, you have my attention, and I will go through the resume for the first 10 seconds. If you're able to capture my attention, then only I'll read more thoroughly. So make sure that your resume is catchy enough or concise and precise enough that within the first 10 seconds someone gets the idea that what you do, what is your experience, your profile border, the, how do I say it, like the, you can say your background in general, within the first 10 seconds. And then if I want to dive deeper on your profile, your projects, your experience, then I'll spend more time. But for the first 10 seconds, make sure your resume should be able to impress the recruiter or whoever is reading that. And then the third point is that ATS compliance. So nowadays, I was even working for an organization before where who were building an ATS, right? And if you look at how ATS systems work, so they have a you know, computer vision based or machine learning based parser. So they will see your resume and they will parse your resume, break it down into separate parts, and it will try to figure out what is the match of your profile of your resume with the job application. So if let's say there's a 70% match or an 80% match of your resume with the job application, the recruiter will reach out to you. So let's say out of 100 resumes, your resume gets a rank that hey, this is a 80% rating, 80% similarity. So make sure you come up with resume which have specific keywords to the job that you're applying to, the job role you're applying to. Once you're done with this, share your resume to your friends, to your peers, close set of friends who you think that will give you a good feedback. Also, go and share that to the mentor. I just shared we have a mentorship program also. You can set up a resume review session with your mentor and ask them to rate my resume, give me more feedback on that to improve. So you have to ask for feedback on your resume to make it better and better. I will spend few more time to discuss one example. So I have taken a resume for a very popular resume. This is a author of a very popular coding book. So she has this resume from long time back, and I thought of taking up this example to discuss that certain points you need to take care of while coming up with a resume. So this is the first half of the resume, and as you can see, the name should be very well highlighted. It should be the biggest font in the resume, and then you need to mention very, in your address, your phone number, and your email address in very, it should be easy to find. It should not be very difficult to find these three information, right? And make sure you use a professional email address because like you want it to be professional, you want it to be much concise and professional, so make sure you use a professional email address. Next is the employment section or past experience section. So what happens here is that this candidate Gail has basically told about what her role was, the duration of the internship here, and the experience. So let's look at this one example, right? So here she has mentioned that reduce time to render this functionality, whatever this is, user body list, by 75% by implementing prediction algorithm. So as a recruiter, I don't know what is user buddy list. I don't know what prediction algorithm you used. I don't even know how did this help your company, right? But I know that you worked on something and you have improved something by this percentage or that number, right? This many times. So make sure the pointers you add are quantitative, right? Not just write that I was responsible for working on this and building this. That does not give any value to the whoever is reading, right? Because that person doesn't even know what you have worked on. So make sure to add the quantitative angle, the quantitative perspective to what you have worked on, and make it bullet points. Add bullet points so that you can be to the point about what you have achieved, your achievements, your achievements, your improvements that you have done in the team, or whatever you have built in very short, and how it contributes to the growth of the organization. But whatever it is, make it very short and to the point. Yeah, as you can see, for example, again here she has mentioned that time was reduced from on square to on log n. So if you see this part, you understand that this candidate has idea of optimizing computer programs. Right, excuse me. So this candidate has idea of optimizing computer programs, and once you see that, you would know that hey, I also have a similar type of requirement, and what if I can hire this candidate, I can talk to this candidate. So that's what I'm saying, that you have to be much more um, quantitative and to the point about whatever you write on your experience section. I'll go to the next section, which is more about the education, the technical experience, and the additional experience. uh, by technical experience, you can add your GPA, your CGPA, or whatever your score was in your college, in university, and you can add some coursework. Make sure whatever you add here, you know that very well, you actually like that subject. You actually are confident answering questions of that subject, because anything you add in the resume can be asked to you. So make sure you know every word in your resume that you have added. Then you have a lot of projects that you can add. So you can add some important projects that you worked on, the time of that, and what technology you use to build that, and a very short description of what that does. It will be great if you can add links to these. So for example, this multi-user drawing tool, if you can make it live, live projects, real-time projects, if you can host them on GitHub or any kind of code repository, and if you can give the links to that, or if you have made it live, if there's a website for that, give this person the link that to this project line, so that I can just simply click on that and I can go to that and I can use that and I can see that, okay, this person is not just writing stuff, this person has also built a lot of things. So that adds a lot of value, a lot of weightage to your profile, and resume essentially becomes much more stronger. So the next part is additional experience or awards. So if let's say you are interested in, you have won certain awards in your college days, certain academic awards, or certain coding programming awards, any achievements, hackathons you have won, you can mention that in the awards, and make sure it's not a huge list. Make sure to keep it short and only the top achievements you mention. And then you can mention some skills, some languages or technologies that you know, some frameworks that you have worked on, whatever is applicable for you. So this is essentially how a resume should look like. And before going to the next part, I want you guys to understand that resume is the main thing that will help you land an interview. If your resume is not strong enough, it will be very difficult for you to get an interview call. So during my days when I was preparing for job interviews, applying off campus for a lot of companies, I made sure my resume is strong enough to be able to help me fetch interview calls from top companies. And I think that's where resume building is very critical, and Unstop has a very good course on this resume building, so do check that out. Cool. Next is the DSA. This is the meat of the entire preparation, and I think a lot of you guys are already aware of data structures algorithms. Essentially, this is nothing but a way of solving algorithmic problems. Think about how you would store your data in the computer. This is essentially nothing but data structure, and algorithms are nothing but a way of solving the problem mathematically. So, like, make sure to read the books that you have, academic books. Go on Unstop, and they have courses. Like, for example, if you see this course that I'm sharing right now, this is about DSA in Python. So they have covered a lot of topics, like all the parts of notations, the complexities, recursion, searching, sorting. Then you have stacks and queues and linked lists and trees, BSTs, binary search trees, hashing, graphs. I think this is a very extensive list of topics that if you go through once and then you keep on revising that, you'll be more than prepared for your technical interviews in terms of DSA. So make sure to check this out. Make sure to check out this section, this course. This is a very important course on Unstop, and you can check this out. You can enroll in this. You can spend some time. There are lots of practical hands-on exercises and around 8 weeks of content that you can check out, and very highly rated course. So do check it out and spend some time on this one. So apart from that, if you have any technical books that you refer in your college, do check them out. Do brush up on those topics before the interview. I have also mentioned the set of topics, but you can refer to the same list that I just discussed on Unstop. Arrays and strings, stacks, queues, linked list, recursion, sets, hash map, trees and graphs. These are very important, uh, data structure topics that you need to be very smooth at, very comfortable and confident at, before you even sit for the interview. And then you have, algorithm techniques like greedy approach, dynamic programming, backtracking, two pointers, sliding window, cumulative sum, and a lot of approaches that you need to brush up. And again, all of those will be covered in the DSA course of Unstop. So make sure to check that out. But these are some of the topics that you should be very well prepared in. And do also solve problems. So as you learn about this topic, so for example, I learned a certain topic called stacks, and I learn about the theoretical aspects of this topic. Go and solve some coding problems. So on Unstop, if you look at this course, they have set of hands-on exercises. So they have a IDE kind of platform where you can go and solve a coding problem, and they have like test cases where uh, you can actually solve the problem. You can submit the solution, and you can see if you have actually passed all the test cases or not. So do check it out. Do practice on that part. I'll go to the next part, which is more about time problem solving. So the word time here is very important. So you're solving a problem, and you have the entire day to solve a problem technically. But in an interview, you just have 15 minutes or 20 minutes. Especially you're sitting in front of an interviewer who is asking you that, tell me something about what is your approach. So you are under a lot of stress, lot of pressure during an interview. So the best way to imitate that, one of the ways to imitate that is use a stopwatch while you're solving a problem, right? Use your phone as a stopwatch. See how long it takes to solve a problem. If it takes 45 minutes to solve a problem, revisit that problem after 1 or 2 days and see if you can solve it again without looking at the previous answer, of course, and if it takes lesser time. So the goal should be to reduce the time taken one every day. So the practice should be there. So you have to reduce the time you take to solve a given set of problem. Right. So that is where time problem solving is very important. Next is design problems. So again, as I discussed before, system design round is sort of a little bit more senior level round, but think of it like this. Like let's say I tell you that design Zomato. How would you design Zomato? What are the components that would be needed? So know about the components. Engineering. Software components like a load balancer, caching service. What's a DNS? How does internet work? Etc. Etc. And how you can stitch these components together to make a system, make a working scalable system, right? So these projects are usually much bigger, but again, you have a low level design round, which also I have discussed before, called machine coding round. So here expect business problems like, like for example, design Zomato or design Splitwise. So for example, in my interview for one of the companies, uh, I was asked that, hey, how would you design Splitwise? So Splitwise is an expense sharing application. So they asked me to write the code to design Splitwise. There was no complicated UI required, but I had to write the backend logic, the entire logic that would make Splitwise work. So as a backend engineer, I was expected that. As a front end engineer, you might be expecting something else. You might be expected out of you that come up with a front end design for calculator, right? Very simple. But again, make sure you practice such kind of design problems also apart from DSA. Similarly, let's say if I tell you that, hey, design Zomato, how would you come up with a food delivery app? Or let's say if you're preparing for machine learning role or data science role, let's say I tell you we have this much amount of data flowing for Netflix, and how would you analyze the data? How would you analyze and come up with a pipeline to manage the data, that how the recommendation for Netflix would work? Or if you look at Amazon also, let's say you build an e-commerce website, how would the recommendation system, or let's say any other system inside Amazon would work? How would you manage this amount of data? Let's say you want to visualize the amount of data that Amazon deals with daily. companies like e-commerce companies like Amazon, Flipkart, they're dealing daily. So if you want to visualize that kind of data, so look at projects in general, try to build projects and try to build designs conscience, try to be a little bit more conscious about the design that whatever product you're using. For example, uh, in this case, whatever examples I've discussed here, you can check Unstop. They have courses for, if you look at, for example, Amazon, they have, so Unstop has course for Amazon user segmentation, right? So they have covered topics here for how would you pre-process the data, how would you segment the data for users. So for example, you are given a set of data from Amazon. You're working in Amazon, let's say, and you want to understand the user market. That hey, what type of people are buying iPhones more, or what type of people, which age group of people are buying sneakers or shoes more. So you want to do a lot of such kind of market analysis, user segmentation, or such kind of analysis in big businesses, right? And there's a project here that Unstop has where you can do that. You can take this course and you can learn about how it's done. It's a very small course, small 5 hours, 1 week course. Similarly, we have Unstop has courses of Zomato reviews. You can analyze Zomato reviews and make sentiment analysis out of that, or any kind of um, you know data pre-processing or kind of analysis on top of that. I think yeah, even you can see Netflix. So we have on Unstop we have movie suggestions, right? So Netflix uses a recommender system internally. So how does it do that? How does the machine learning work behind that? So make sure to check out this course if you're interested in this. If you feel like this will help build your profile, I think this will heavily work as kind of a project that you can add in your resume, right? So make sure to check out these aspects also, and not just DSA or resume. So these design aspects or project aspects are also very important for your landing a job offer. And finally, make sure to mock interview. So I'll tell you why mock interview is very important. Let's say you have prepared very well, right? You have prepared very well for a job, and for all the things you have prepared, but you are not ready. You are not ready, and you'll never know that until you sit for an interview. So whenever you sit for an interview, there is a lot of nervousness that happens, lot of uh, difficulty some people have while talking in an interview. So the best way to that is mock interview. Sit with a friend or sit with a mentor. Even Unstop has mock interview. We have mentorship courses. So you can do go and find a mentor, match with a mentor, and have a mock interview session with them. And you'll actually get to learn a lot from mentor sessions like these. Because for example, you have an interview tomorrow for Flipkart, and you are sitting with me today having a mentorship session with me. I'll be able to help you a lot, that these are the areas you should be very careful about. So mentorship sessions and mock interviews are very important. So make sure to attend these kind of simulation, real interview simulation scenarios before you sit for the actual interview. They'll help you a lot. You'll gain a lot of confidence. You'll gain a lot of understanding as in how an interview works. And finally, once you're done with everything, you have to start applying. Go on the again, we have Unstop's job application portal. So we have job portal on Unstop, where we have a lot of companies, like as you can see in this, we have a lot of companies who are hiring from Unstop. So make sure you check this out. You go and start applying on Unstop, and you start applying. Once you're ready, you start applying. Apart from Unstop, you can also go on the career platform. For example, if you let's say if you want to interview for Google, so go to the career page of that and go to, and apply with your resume there. So that way, you can start applying. Once you're ready with the preparation and the revision phase, start applying. So you have to apply. You have to apply as much as you can to increase your chances of landing an interview. So I think that's all uh, from my side. First thing is the preparation. Once you're done preparing, Make sure you revise very well, you're fully prepared and revised, all the concepts are done from your end, and then you apply more and more, and keep on improving as you give more and more interviews. So yeah, that's it. I am happy to take questions now, and yeah, over to you, Avinash.
First of all, thanks so much, Amit, for putting everything together, for going through all company rounds, and specifically pointing out what is it that the learners can face when they actually apply for these companies. Because the companies that you talked about, especially in the diagram, they are dream companies of most of the learners today. So thank you so much once again for that. We have a few questions already here. I'll take the first one. It says system design or HLD rounds often require a deep understanding of distributed systems and scalability. How can one practice for such rounds, particularly when dealing with open-ended questions?
Right. Again, as I mentioned in the session, that such kind of questions, like distributed system based questions, are more of a senior level questions. As a someone who has less than 3 years of experience, do not expect that difficult level of questions. But interviewers do understand that what is your experience of work. So if you have worked on, let's say, a project, so in the first 2 3 years of your career you do work on such projects, and while working you develop an aspect towards engineering problems, that how would I scale, let's say if you were working on something, how would I scale this product, or how do I design this product. So you have to use whatever you learned from your job, as well as prepare, as we have courses on Unstuff for preparing on HLDs. So go on, medium vlogs, go on, do such courses like that, read about how would you design a simple system, like let's say how would you design YouTube, or how would you design Zomato. So read more on those topics and combine that with whatever you have worked before, and that's how you slowly build on that. Yeah, I think that's how you can crack that round.
Thank you so much. Our next question is a mix of hard and soft skills. It says, how can candidates effectively balance technical expertise with communication skills during interview rounds, especially when explaining complex technical concepts or presenting solutions?
Very good question. I have seen a lot that candidates, while taking interviews, I have seen that someone solve a question very well but not able to communicate the idea. So one of the best ways to do this, solve this, is mock interviews. Sit with your friend, someone who you're comfortable with. Just tell them that let's dedicate 1 hour. First 30 minutes I'll take your interview, and next 30 minutes you'll take my interview. Let's say both of you are preparing, so you be the interviewer one time and the other person will be the candidate, and whatever question you come up with, try to explain this to the interviewer first, to the other person first, before even jumping to the code. So that is very critical. I have seen a lot of candidates just coming up with a solution and jumping to the code and coming to the end of that, and sometimes they'll just be stuck. Or let's say it's a 30-minute round and you have 10 minutes left, they'll see that okay, this was a wrong solution, and there is no way to go back from there. So it's very important that once you know how you want to solve a problem, discuss that in plain, simple English terms with the interviewer. That hey, I think I have come up with a solution, and this is my approach. Once you know that, once the approach is finalized, then you code. You don't have to talk a lot during the coding time, but make sure you communicate first, finalize on the approach first, then you start the coding part. It's a combination, but you can definitely prioritize the communication first, and then the coding then after that.
Amit, can I add something to that?
Sure, sure,
So
sure, sure.
there's a very famous principle that we nowadays also teach in soft skill. It is called the pyramid principle, and you can also use that, and it's very simple. It's like a pyramid. You can Google it and you'll get details on that. It's just talk about the main or the key message first. That should be very precise, very to the point. Then talk about some key messages or supporting arguments, and then present evidence or data or facts that might be there. And in interviews, I think a good thing to do is that you talk about the key message, and once the interviewer asks you, the questions, then you go to the depth. So I think I just wanted to add that because that's something that I believe
Very
will
good.
really, really help.
Very good, Avinash. Thank you so much for adding that. I think this is very critical because this essentially also covers that, in an interview, you don't have a unlimited amount of time. You have to be very precise with your answers. And only if the interviewer wants to know a certain aspect more from you, then only you zoom into that. So very well added. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you. The next question is, in a critical resume review, what are the most common mistakes candidates make on their resumes, and how can they enhance their resumes to stand out to recruiters?
Good question again, but I think in a critical resume review, I think I have seen from my experience, I have seen someone putting up a lot of graphical, stuff, a lot of colors, a lot of pictures in their resume. That makes it very much ATS non-compliant. I have seen, for example, I got a resume once. I keep on getting resumes for referrals or just reviewing them. So I'll see, there's a format they have used which is very difficult to parse, and sometimes the name is not even properly visible, or the experience is not there, or sometimes when this is being parsed by some software, they are not even able to read your phone number correctly. So make sure the format that you're using is very well checked, and don't add a lot of designs and stuff. Make it plain and simple. The information should be easily visible and readable. Another thing, in terms of very critical, I feel, in terms of resume, is that, as I discussed in the presentation, is that make every achievement to the point. Don't beat around the bush, as we say. Don't beat around the bush in your resume, and make sure whatever you write in your resume, you have actually idea on that, and everything. Your resume should be like, it should be like the back of your hand. You know it that well. So I think that's all. And I think as you kind of do more of resume review sessions with your mentors, or if you attend the Unstops resume building course, is very well documented in that what are some of the important tips and tricks that you need to take care of while adding the any details in your resume.
Okay, we have a lot more questions, but in the interest of time, we'll just take one more. And this is from I would say, from a very quirky learner. He says that how would you introduce yourself in an interview? So probably we can close the session with this one.
Sure. Very good question. How would I introduce myself? Or I'll give a general, so that me introducing myself might not be that helpful for everyone in the crowd. But I'll give you a very good, something I learned from a mentor of mine. So think about yourself in a elevator, right? Let's say you are in a huge building, huge. Let's say you're in big company building, right? And you are in an elevator with your dream aspiring engineer or your professional, and you just have those 30 seconds to go from fifth floor to ground floor, or that much time. So you have to spark a conversation. Since you two are the only ones who are there in the elevator, think about it. The conversation session will always get started, but how would you talk about yourself? You do not want to go very deep about your family background or very deep about your hobbies. You want to tell things that would actually spark the interest of the other person. So when you're talking to an interviewer, and this person has an experience in, let's say, machine learning, and he is the director of machine learning for a certain team in a certain company, you want to talk about why you are also interested and what areas you are interested, and make it look like that what you are interested in also somehow aligns with what he's looking for. So that's how you spark interest. The entire idea of introduce yourself is kind of hidden in a way that sell yourself. It's like you have to sell yourself in a very small time. It's called an elevator pitch. So come up with an elevator pitch. Come up with, pressurize yourself that you have 30 seconds or 1 minute. Come up with an elevator pitch that you'll be able to sell yourself within that 1 minute. What are the topmost things that you will mention? Your background, your projects that you're working on, things you're interested to work on in future. So yeah, you have to tailor that with the from one person to another. You can't really tell your same introduce yourself to your interview and also to your girlfriend, right? So it'll be very different. So think about who you're talking to and make your elevator pitch, make your introduction ready for that.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I think that was a wonderful answer. Thank you again for putting, all the content together, for designing the deck so nicely, and, all your research, all your experience, I think you've put into it for the learners today. So thank you from Unstop and from the learners who have attended the session today. Thanks very much.
Thank you so much, Unstop, for having me. It was a great time. Thank The questions were really nice. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So, thank you everyone for joining in. I'll just take a couple of more minutes to quickly again talk about Unstop and Unstop Pro. You've heard a little bit about it in the session today. So, Unstop is a talent engagement and hiring platform with more than 8 million users from over 42,000 colleges and companies. And Unstop Pro is our one of a kind offering. It is what we call as the finishing school, because it helps you in getting a job, winning a competition, learning the right thing, getting the best value, choosing the right company, and getting the right mentor for the career path that you want. Also, it gives you access to about 1,000+ hours of content in more than 65 courses across domains like aptitude, technical skills, coding, interview preparation. And our learners have validated the quality of our content with the rating of 4.515. We also have projects from companies like Amex, Netflix, Zomato, PhonePe, to name a few. And we offer a 15% discount on the one on one mentorship sessions that Amit also talked about, which are taken by industry experts from the biggest brands like Google, Amazon, Flipkart, HUL, McKinsey, to name a few. There are also about 100+ interview preparation courses and frequent masterclasses by industry experts like the one that you just attended. So, thank you so much for joining once again. Do check out the Unstop Pro. Thank you.